What is up, Los Angeles, and welcome back to the Rams LAFB show. I'm your host, Ryan Anderson. It is Wednesday ahead of the NFC Championship game with the Rams and the Seahawks, which means Erin Coscarelli joining live from Rams HQ for this week's version of the practice report. Erin.
Hi.
The leverages just keep getting higher and the tension keeps building. But it seems like everybody in that building is just going through the day-to-day motions of heading into a week of football. Is that the impression you're getting?
A lot more media here today. Obviously, there's a huge swath of, they even changed the backdrop to the NFC Championship game. Of course, you're going to expect more media. But yeah, the Rams kind of just doing their thing that they've been doing each and every week, which is show up, do your job, go to work, have accountability. Accountability got brought up a ton today by the reporters because of McVay and Stafford's post-game pressers when they were in Chicago. But it's business as usual, as it is every week here. No one's hyping anything up. Last week, the big storyline for the Rams were, it's the cold weather because it's 80 degrees here in Woodland Hills, which I don't think it's really that warm here now. But it was last week. And so the Rams try to do the very best at removing distraction, outside noise, and just sort of focusing on being present and the game ahead, which is the Seattle Seahawks.
The Seahawks, third time around in just a few weeks. It feels like these guys keep playing week after week after week. They're coming off of a dominant performance where they just kind of wiped the table with those San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, a lot of factors being kind of in there in terms of the 49ers injuries. You bring up accountability coming out of that game. Obviously, everybody feels better when you get the W in the column for sure. But so much to coming out of that game, just so much they need to process. Sean McVay, in terms of watching the tape, he didn't say he was terribly happy with his performance in calling plays. And he always takes on, the lion's share of the blame, if not every bit of the blame on himself, putting in, he likes to say not putting the guys in the right positions. Obviously he's the play caller. So, I'm so curious as to what those conversations were behind closed doors, particularly between he and kind of the run game guy. Let's call him that. I mean, for lack of a better term for it, but Mike LaFleur and he, just to be a fly on the wall. Obviously we don't have access to that, but so much fodder coming out of that last game. Offensively, defensively, so much to pick apart. The playoffs is, win and move on, lose or go home. So the complexion of it changes. So McVay took the podium first, talking about accountability and whatnot. And what was kind of his demeanor up there, heading into this game? That's just, this is the third time. This is the third time that he's not just between these two teams, but McVay's third time going into an NFC Championship game. And
third time straight road games. Think about that. That was also brought up, right? Back to back road games where this team has really not had a lot of rest in the comforts of their own home. And Davante was actually asked about that. I'll get to that in a moment. But first, with respect to your question about how McVay was, he's never not honest, transparent, pretty unfiltered. You get a really real sense of how this coach feels without giving away too much, obviously. But that 3rd and 1 call that he took accountability and he said, had the game ended and I made that call and we did not get a win leaving Soldier Field, it would have been a long off season for me, is what he said. And I thought that was pretty potent because, and even Nate Atkins of The Athletic, we chatted and he's like, it just really says so much about this coach that he is the first to give credit, but the first to take the blame when it comes to accountability. And it's what he always says in his pressers, right? So he's actually not just saying it, he's living it. He's the example for this team. And his belief about him improving as a play caller, which is crazy, but also Stafford after the game really kind of suggested that this team's going to take a look at the tape, see what they can do better. Because they didn't have a lot of offensive production when they tried to throw the ball. They obviously had to kind of switch gears. And I think heading into Seattle, I'm curious to see what that rhythm is going to look like, because now that Kevin Dotson's back and they're going to have hopefully more success in the run game, the Rams are going to have some work to do, and they're going to have to do it in another hostile environment like Seattle. And Seattle has just been a scary dominant defense. Look, it's the number one scoring defense against the number one scoring offense. Right?
Yeah.
And a part of me really wanted to poke the bear and ask Stafford, how do you feel when you hear people say defense wins championships? Didn't have the guts to do it. I might do it when they're back on Friday. I might feel courageous enough to do it.
Oh.
But how do you, when you have a swarming defense, how do you compensate for that? I mean, obviously this team has been tested before, and that was what Davante spoke about, because, he was asked about going on the road again, and he's like, but we've had to do it all season. In fact, I think they're the second most traveled air miles of the NFL, yeah. Obviously the tax of being a West Coast team. But he's like, and he said this, which I thought was interesting, going to Baltimore and then staying in Baltimore and then going to London. He's like, it's felt like we've had a few different training camps with the respect to this season individually. And even some of their training camps, remember, they kind of had to be flexible. When was it? Something happened. Was it with the Cowboys? And so then they ended up having to play against the Saints in their training camp. Remember?
Yeah.
And I forget what that was, if that was because of a location issue or if one of the I forget what it was.
Was that was it the Chargers? Was it a problem with the Chargers?
The Chargers were injured.
Yeah.
Chargers were dealing with injuries, right? So, this team has had to problem solve quite a bit this season. And I think the question that I had asked McVay was, did, that big viral moment of him talking and rallying his team, which is like, you gotta bye, Omar. You gotta love that, if you're a Rams fan, just how dialed in McVay was when he's saying to his team, do not, like that fourth quarter end, what was it, 18 seconds left, Caleb Williams does that, and you're like, I can't even believe he did that. That was just like mind-boggling. And then for McVay to have the, cool, calm, collected ability to say, we're going to win this game. Let's move on and go beat them, is really a testament to this head coach's mental fortitude, but also his players.
I was listening to a podcast called the Read Optional podcast with Oliver Connolly and John Ledyard. Hey, I got to stay on top of those things. And they're fantastic. Scouts, both have worked in coaching departments. And one of their takeaways from the game was after that play, after the 18-second 50-yard bomb, Cole Kmet touchdown, one of their takeaways was McVay looked shocked and stunned, and the sidelines looked the same. And, they were questioning why Ben Johnson didn't go for two in that moment. And Ben Johnson's answer was, well, I used my favorite play, my best option there, and they had already stopped it. So I didn't want to risk it, which is interesting in and of itself. I had tweeted out, the Bears were showing no respect to the Rams defense on fourth down. Will that change? It changed. They started to respect that group. Not my point anyway, though, but McVay going from that frazzled, we just got one of the all-time NFL plays dropped on our heads. What do we do now?
Yeah.
They didn't go for 2, but they can't. But his ability to come back in that moment, to be able just to make that speech with the confidence of saying we're going to win this game, unfazed by that very emotional, big momentum shift.
Totally.
I already got goosebumps just talking about it. But yeah, I mean, really fascinating. Before we go any further, let's talk a little bit injury news. We always got to hit this stuff. Really nothing coming out of Rams camp. Manuel Forbes and Byron Young taking some precautionary days off, a knee and shoulder injury. And then Quentin Lake missed today because of an illness. So it's probably that thing that everybody's got. I got it.
Well, hopefully it doesn't, affect him like it affected you and a few other of my friends that were not well and not feeling so good, because we need Lake at 100%. And I was going to make another really interesting point. We'll just have to keep going. Oh, Charbonnet, the injury, they're not going to have Charbonnet in Seattle. And
Seattle running back Zach Charbonnet.
So I think they're not taking their foot off the gas as they've learned their lesson. It doesn't make a difference who's on the field. What was it, week 5 against the Niners? But I think the question, one of the things that I'm curious, Ryan, I want to get your take on it, is obviously what we saw from Seattle against the Niners was, impressive. And you can say, based on that, they are the more talented roster. But did we see a banged up Niners that, just couldn't put it together? How good are the Seahawks based on that sort of litmus test? You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I totally get it. And there's so many different angles you can go at that Niners team with. And the first one I'll say is that defense was just ravaged by injuries. There was no way they were going to hold up against, they beat the Eagles, but that Eagles offense has been shambles all season long. They fired their OC. I mean, do you need more information than that? AJ Brown. Anyway, getting back to the topic at hand, still the number one of the top 10 offenses in the league all season long. Mac Jones, when he was in there, the 49ers were still churning on the offense. George Kittle was out of this game, but George Kittle missed 6 or 7 games this season as well, and they were still able to be one of the best offenses in the NFL. The Seattle Seahawks stopped that. Now, some of that has to do with the complementary or the lack of complementary football that the 49ers just could not put onto the field because their defense was in such a state. And furthermore, this close game against the Bears, who do not have a great defense, who have a good offense, is fueled by Caleb Williams. Do you know who is not Caleb Williams? Sam Darnold is not Caleb Williams. They wore the same helmet in college.
Yeah.
There is no, Darnold's got a nice deep ball, but he's not throwing a 50-yard Hail Mary, 18 seconds left in the fourth quarter touchdown. So I just bring that up just because it's something that I've been churning over in my head as I think about this game here coming up. So I don't know if I answered your question or went overboard.
You've actually left me more confused by mentioning Sam Darnold not being Caleb Williams. Are you saying that's an advantage Rams? Because
advantage Rams, yeah.
The thing that I was also curious was how much 2-point conversion defense are they going to practice and work on? Because I felt that I was shocked when Ben Johnson didn't go for the 2-point and very happy when he opted not to be honest, or not, again, I can't really be biased, but it's always fun to tell a good story, and our stories get more interesting as the Rams continue to advance. Let's be honest. So when Ben Johnson opted not to go for the 2, I was like, well, that's a relief. That's not going to happen. I don't believe in Seattle with Mike McDonald. Don't you think? I mean, this is a guy that's very gutsy, and he's going to go for it, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it in whatever week that was in the second game of the divisional season. They went to they could not settle for a tie, so they were kind of forced.
Right. Yeah, it's situational, but I still think if Ben was not Ben and it was Mike, I just wonder if that would have been a different decision if the coach in Chicago was different.
I think the Rams defense scared Ben Johnson, freaked him out. So Ben Johnson comes from the Dan Campbell tree, of course. Dan Campbell goes for it on fourth down. He goes for 2 to win the game. Like he's not gun shy about it. And Ben Johnson is an analytical thinker. Mm-hmm. He likes to lean on those models. Rams.
He's not a big handshaker. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. By the way, how funny was that? I was like, I need to see the handshake. I mean, I don't even remember what happened. It was a blur, but it was a very friendly handshake. No.
Oh, between he and McVay?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't recall seeing it, to be honest.
I know. That's
preparing for our show. But no, but I was thinking you were referencing the Matt LaFleur running kind of high five handshake.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying. I was saying much ado about nothing. Basically, I'm just being dramatic, like the Ben Johnson LaFleur handshake.
So I went on a radio spot for Green Bay Packers radio station, and they wanted to talk about Bears Rams game anyway. I said, is it time for Ben Johnson to be humbled in this league? Sean McVay likes to talk about the NFL being a humbling league. I think it was a good time. I think it was a good humbling for Ben Johnson in this moment. Yeah. To get freaked out, to not be able to just run whatever trick play, the stumble bum Jared Goff play, all these, silly plays that he has in his bag. Yeah. Anyway.
Would you be surprised if I told you? So, I did my watch party at my friend's house, and a lot of them are from Chicago, that they are opinionated about McVay. They do not like him. I was surprised to hear that. I mean, I guess it's funny because I went to USC, but growing up, my whole life, I wanted to play UCLA basketball. Don't ask me why. I'm 5'3" and very vertically disadvantaged. But I stepped on the campus of USC and immediately was like, oh, I hate the Bruins. So it's interesting being inside the walls of the Rams and really feeling how true and genuine and the permeation of the values here. And when you are outside the building and you're not really soaking up the Rams ethos like a true fan would, you look outside and you find certain characters, right? Like, I bet Ben Johnson's a great guy, but we see a handshake and we're like, oh, that guy's really not friendly. It's like we're so affected by these characters, and I guess that's why we love the game, right?
Let me ask you this question: is there anybody you sports hate? Like
I sports hate
me and Aaron Rodgers. We'd probably have a great time if we were hanging out. But anytime he's on TV, anytime he's talking about whatever I'm like, tune it out. I'm turning it off. I'm done with it. LeBron James also feel the same about him. But this is sports hate. Like, do I think I could hang out with LeBron James, have some nice Pinot Noir or whatever he's into? Definitely.
Yeah.
So
one of the coaches that was always so hard for me to interview. And again, I was new. I had never covered a pro football team. So I was just scared of my own shadow. But when I lived in San Francisco and I had to cover Jim Harbaugh, he was so hard to get an answer from. And now being here with the Rams and McVay, I'm like, oh, it was definitely not a me problem. It was a Jim Harbaugh problem. So when I see him And I think also too, McVay does such a great job at really being thorough, because I think his father was like a news director, so he's pretty good with the media. He'll repeat your name back to you. He'll give you a really respectful answer, and so will Stafford, and so will Davante. They all have great, whatever media training. But Jim Harbaugh does not care. He's not there to make friends. He doesn't like probably the job we do. So when I see Jim Harbaughing, I'm like, well, that makes a lot of sense. Not much has changed, but the man is an incredible head coach.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that I don't have to go to the Chargers all the time, because he is somebody that is like the ultimate, and that was kind of how Bill Belichick was too. He was just he kept his cards in. And I can't say how easy or hard it is to be a head coach, but giving, and I'm sure talking to the media and post game, it's not. I'm sure if you've lost, it's not fun, but it is part of the job. So,
yeah. Well, and
Does that answer your?
Yeah, no, it does. It 100% does, and covering both teams, like watching I cover the Rams much more closely, much more day to day, but I do write about the Chargers as well. So I watch these press conferences looking for, things to hit on in terms of articles that I can write coming out of a Jim Harbaugh press conference. And it's impossible. It's like,
he won't give you anything.
He's like, what's the injury status of, Omarion Hampton? He's coming along.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's coming along. Meanwhile, we'll get a full report from McVay. Now, again, they're both strategic in my mind about how they protect their players, right? I mean, let's look at just how McVay was with Stafford and training camp. You could tell he was not going to give anything away, but he does want to face the music in the sense of he knows how media works, and he's gonna do his very best to keep his players protected without giving too much away, but also, I don't know, there's just a bit more of a comfort there for some reason.
Well, and if you want good media coverage, I tell you what, the first thing you want to do is be nice to the media, because they control the narrative. We control the narrative. I mean, we can say whatever we want. We try to be accurate and reflect things that are truthful.
Yeah.
But are there people out there that I'll take pot shots at? For sure. But we'll leave that. But new book by Chuck Klosterman. If you guys aren't familiar with him, fantastic writer, music journalist, football journalist, just like this guy, just like me. But book on football. He talks a lot about kind of fandom and the, kind of what you were getting at. That book just came out, so go check that out. But I'll say this. There was a video up online I came across. I don't know how, but it was a Eagles fan cheering the 49ers getting beaten by the Seahawks. And it's like the confusing mental gymnastics you have to put yourself through to understand why somebody would celebrate the team that just beat yours getting beat, celebrating that, but it actually makes your team look worse. Because if the Eagles had played the Seahawks, if they had won that game, they would have gotten destroyed as well. Anyway, that's what makes following sports awesome, is like, you don't have to be rational to do it. It allows us to be irrational.
Yeah.
In a safe spot.
Yeah. Well, and that was the part that was so funny too, was because I was watching this game with a bunch of Bears, and I almost got myself kicked out or sent outside because I couldn't help myself. And that's why too, when you're in the press box, you have to be really respectful. And I remember I had to learn my lesson when I was covering the Giants in San Francisco in 2013. And I was like, and again, I was so young and new they're like, oh, you can't like react. And I'm like, how do people do this? I'm so Italian, I'm like using my hands and I'm like, oh my God, mamma mia. And when it's like a crazy, on either side, it's really, it's what makes the NFL the number one sport, most watched sport in the country, because there is something to the fact that this is just evokes an emotion in you unlike anything. And that's why this story gets written, because, you had that game against the Bears and everybody was saying, oh, the Rams are soft and they're not going to be able to handle the cold. And then the SoCal team handled the cold better than the team that lives in the snow. And then you have now the script written that you got to go back to Seattle and like redeem yourself against Cooper Kupp, who you broke up with this offseason.
Ernest Jones.
Yeah. And Ernest Jones is there. I mean, and it's like, you got Puka Nacua here. There's the storylines are aplenty. Yep. And that's why this feels like it's not a soap opera, but we can make it into one as the media, because we love it. We love it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think probably the last thing to cover from today was Davante Adams has played in 5 NFC Championship games.
Yeah.
And has been to 0 Super Bowls. What did he have to say about that?
The guy next to me asked that question and I was like, you're coming out of the gate with that one? Jeez. Because Davante, he's so great, but he's like, thanks for reminding me. It's worth asking, and it's a great point. Think about it. This guy is a future Hall of Famer making crazy catches. He spoke about his relationship with Puka too, which was really cool. Somebody asked him about that. But it is true that he has made it to the big game, but has not made it to the big game. And that's why he says when he shows up, please don't mind if I'm not like smiling ear to ear. I've been here before and I've seen how it ends. And oh my God, see, need all the lights, because the lights here are not great. So there we go. Now you can see my face. There's no lights in this. And also it feels like it's a little overcast. But yeah, it just seemed to be like a thorn in Davante's side that he has not been able to achieve making it to the big game, despite the fact that, he is such a huge contributor to his team. And so being able to play, be healthy, and now be available, which he wasn't last time they played the Seahawks. It'll be interesting. But yeah, he's never made it to the Super Bowl. Isn't that surprising?
Yeah, very shocking. All those years with Aaron Rodgers and, just all of the competition that they were facing throughout those years, just incredible.
I know.
And, I wonder, he's one of the few guys that has, this kind of playoff experience under his belt already. So I wonder how he's handling it compared to some of the other guys. Some maybe, let's say Konate, Mumfield, who both those guys seem to have a good connection based on what Konate has said. It's, that kind of experience, you got to earn it, and he's earned it over and over again. So I hope he's bringing that same kind of, experience to the younger guys, telling them, hey, put your phone down. Stop looking at your mentions. Stop looking at like everybody praising us. Keep, nobody. I don't want to see any smiles in this locker room. We got 2 more games to win before we can smile. I wonder. Because Stafford saying, "What's the day to day right now?" It's just the day to day. We're just preparing for another football game for us, and obviously there's some lip service to that. And what are those guys that haven't been there before, that this is the most exciting football that they've ever played in their lives, probably for a lot of these guys. So
I mean, even Mavis, like I was dying to try to get, I didn't have time to go into the locker and get any sound bites today. When you're here, it feels like it just flies by, and now even more so because of the national, like even more national attention. But like even Harrison Mavis that, like had never played in an NFL game. He was cut twice by 2 different teams.
Yeah.
And then in the biggest moment for his career, it's all on his shoulders, and he kicks it and wins the game. It's like a walk-off field goal. I mean, just I don't even like it would have been, I really wanted to see how he was today. I didn't get a chance to, but those are the moments that are really interesting when you're covering this team. Like, how does Davante make that crazy catch when all the air was sucked out of the Rams? Not that it was like they were at home or anything, but in those moments when it really matters, how do you maintain, I don't know, focus, clarity, presence, confidence to get it done? It's pretty fascinating.
Well, for Davante, I'm sure his focus is a pinprick right now. He's got one focus. I mean, how many years does this guy have? Next year, he's under contract with the Rams, but he's got a gigantic cap hit associated with that. So this might be his last season with the Rams.
No, he's taking a pay cut. He's staying here. Trust me. I talked to him.
Oh, I'm sure he will. That doesn't guarantee that they're gonna offer him.
Well, I mean, look, I think that's right. At the end of the day, it's a business decision. But I think if McVay and Stafford have anything to do with it, what this guy has been able to do, in terms of just being a role model for Puka. But yeah, no, listen.
Well,
business.
The business side of it, we will have that conversation within the next month or so, I would imagine. But point being, he is at a certain age that this could be his last chance. So I'm sure his focus, at the very least, is super hyper. Right. So that's the point I wanted to make. I don't know why I got to bring up contracts all the time. I'm looking too far into the future. I get crap about it constantly on Twitter and whatnot. Anyhow, any other notes? Anything else you want to cross off before we get out of here?
No, nothing I think that really stands out other than the fact that that's kind of some of the stuff that we already covered. It's just it's like business as usual. And I think, we'll see. I'm not going to probably be here tomorrow. However, I'll be back on Friday, so we can hope that, one of the things that was really interesting, I don't know if this is true or not, but the offensive identity against Seattle, somebody posted about the 11 personnel versus 13 personnel. And, I think that'll be interesting to see how effective it'll be against that Seattle defense, if effective at all, because it really struggled the first time they matched up. But anyways, we'll get into that, I'm sure, as the week progresses.
I recently put out an article. Go to LAFBnetwork.com to check it out. But it really breaks down how close those two matchups were in the regular season and how actually oddly lopsided and inverted the games actually were in terms of offensive output and production and the eventual outcome of both of those games. Essentially, the offenses, anyway, they played opposite than what you would expect. And to your thing about, and this isn't your thing, this has been a adage in the NFL and sports in general across the board for a very long time, though, defense is winning championships. I run just about every day. I mull over things. And a thing I always come back to about offenses and defenses this late is there is something basically because of how the NFL has put rules up right now, that there is an inevitability to good offenses in the league recently. There's more data pointing towards good offenses winning the Super Bowl than great defenses.
Is that what you think Stafford's going to say? Should I ask Stafford that question on Friday?
I think so. I think it's a fantastic question, because he probably doesn't get I don't think he's probably ever gotten that question. And
right, and it's a head. It'll be a head scratcher for him. How is he going to answer that? That to me is interesting, right? Like, will he just give a very generic, or will he? I don't know.
I think he's going to smile, chuckle, and give probably a fantastic answer as to why that adage is wrong.
When they say defense wins championships, how do you handle that? Because it's, I'm sure he hears it all the time. I mean, in his lifetime, he's probably heard it a lot. But yeah, as a quarterback, what do you say? Be interesting.
Yeah.
And the number one quarterback, no less, right? The number one leading offense, passing yards, touchdowns, all that stuff. So
against the best defense, statistically the best defense. Yeah,
that's right.
Could you ask for anything more from this team, from this year? This fantastic, strange NFL season. They're playing the Super Bowl this Sunday. They're not saying that, but this is the big game for sure. Anyway, that's all we got. Thanks for tuning in. We will be back Friday to wrap up the practice reports for this incredible week. The third time these two teams are playing, the third time McVay has taken this team to a NFC Championship game. Until then, folks, hang in there. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, Ramley, thank you so much for hanging out with us and watching the Rams LAFB show. Quickly before you go, got to tell you about our friends over at Sleeper. It's the #1 sports app right now, and you've got to download it because it's got so many great features that I want to tell you about. Aside from season-long fantasy, which is the best in the business, they've also got live score trackers, in-game updates, plus the live chat where you can actually communicate with other users right on the app. But perhaps the best feature, at least that I like, is the daily fantasy feature or the live pick'em. Just pick 2 to 8 players across any sport, baseball, basketball, hockey, obviously football and our Rams. You're going to choose a player, just choose more or less. Matthew Stafford, more or less passing yards. Kyren Williams, more or less rushing yards, more or less touchdowns. 2 to 8, you can win real money. So when you go to make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code RAMSLAFB, and Sleeper's going to give you a match bonus up to $100. So you deposit $100, they're going to give you $100 free. You're now sitting at $200. You put in $10, they're going to match you $10. You're now sitting at $20. But on top of that, right now, Sleeper is offering all new user signups a $20 free entry, no deposit required. Go sign up. You're automatically invested $20 straight from Sleeper. But you can stack that offer with that match bonus offer to add more money. Just make sure you use that promo code RAMS. LAFB. Go check out Sleeper. Download it today. Tell them the guys at the Rams LAFB sent you. And as always, Ramley, thank you so much for making us a part of your day.